Welcome, everyone, to episode 6 of the Solo Sideline. I'm your host, Conor. This is the #1 podcast that talks about the Broncos, Seahawks, and the NBA. I can legally say that since I'm the only podcast that focuses on those three markets. Please don't report this if that actually isn't factual. Please engage with me on Instagram or Twitter. My name there is the Solo Sideline. And I want this podcast to be all sports and no fluff. Some fluff items that didn't make the cut today. Jaxon Smith Njigba received the Offensive Player of the Year trophy, and there was a typo that said Defensive Player of the Year. Sure, it's disrespectful, and the NFL should be better, but honestly, why do fans care? This will lead JSN to having a larger chip on his shoulder going into the year, and that will hopefully allow him and the Seahawks offense to replicate their success last year. Since Clint Kubiak left the Seahawks for the Raiders, who knows what their offense is really going to look like? JSN had a breakout year, hence he won the Offensive Player of the Year. So hopefully the NFL and Drewski just mispronouncing his name throughout this whole ordeal will just lead to him needing to go out there, show everyone who he is, and then people won't forget his name or mispronounce it. The Raiders reportedly want Kirk Cousins to start the season and have Fernando Mendoza sit and learn behind him. I find that weird if he's the first overall pick to sit, but it's the Raiders. I mean, what else do we expect? The last time this happened was with Baker and the Browns. And before Baker, it was Carson Palmer in 2003, so it's not really a common thing for the first overall pick to sit. But I don't know if I would follow the blueprint the Browns laid out, because they're, the Browns. LeBron, on his podcast, said he wasn't thinking about his future until July or August. I mean, we can all speculate where he's going to go. And I do think he truly doesn't know where it will be. But we know he's coming back to play next year, so we can take out the retirement talk. I think the two realistic options are the Lakers, which is just running it back with maybe, hopefully, some added talent around them, or sign and trade to the Cavs, or go there as a minimum, even though LeBron said he's not going to take the minimum. He's going home to Cleveland, or he's going to stay in LA. He's not going to uproot his family. The Colorado Avalanche got their star player Cale Makar back, and then went up 3-0 in a pivotal Game 3, but then proceeded to blow the lead and lose the game. It is always so fun when the Avs flame out in the playoffs. I know as a Kraken fan, I shouldn't root for Vegas, but I do find the Av fans more annoying than Vegas. Fun fact, the other star player of the Avs, Nathan MacKinnon, was the Team Canada player that said Canada was a better team than U.S. in the Olympics, even after U.S. won the gold. I don't know, call me old-fashioned, but I think the team that won is typically the better team. On the other side of the Stanley Cup playoffs, we have the Carolina Hurricanes with a 2-1 lead against the Montreal Canadiens. The winner of that series will face off against a well-rested Vegas Knights team, unless we see an all-time collapse by the Knights. Talking about complaining, this weekend the all-NBA teams were announced. This is a very high honor and impacts players' earning potential. If an NBA player receives an all-NBA first, second, or third team election, they are eligible for what the NBA calls a supermax contract. For rookies earning their second contract, a just regular max contract is 25% of the salary cap, and a supermax is up to 30% of the cap. This translates to about $45 to $60 million. And for a veteran, the max is 30%, while the supermax is 35%. So losing out on an all-NBA team election could be crucial for your earning potential and generational wealth. I talked about the NBA rules around MVP voting and the 65-game rule back in episode 1. This also applies to all NBA voting, and so Cade and Luka both were approved for their exceptions and earned all NBA. People complain this took away other players earning it and losing out on money, or in the Nuggets case, Jamal Murray getting delegated down to the third team instead of second team all NBA. In my opinion, it's really a blessing. I say this because had Murray been voted to the second team, and with Jokic already earning first team, their playoff failure of losing in round 1 would look even worse. Think of it this way. Had Drake May won NFL MVP and then put up the stinker in the Super Bowl, which he did, everyone would be saying the MVP really should have been Stafford's. It would look a lot worse with the MVP not being able to move the ball and falling way short instead of the MVP runner-up. And without further ado, let's get into today's topics on today's Solo Sideline. We're going to just really talk about the NBA playoffs. The Cavs were swept in the conference finals and lost on their home court to the New York Knicks. This probably would have only crossed your timeline since Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were there for Game 3, and Travis Kelce chugged a beer. You may find Kelce's behavior of chugging beer on the Jumbotron silly or dumb, but this is what NFL players do, who typically aren't quarterbacks. His brother Jason did it, Packers tackle David Bakhtiari did it, Rodgers did it, George Kittle, Julian Edelman, David Andrews, and of course, Gronk have all done it. Being an NFL player and being put on the Jumbotron can lead to two things: a nice acknowledgement with a wave and a fun cheer, or chugging a beer. Don't hate that Kelce did this. We know who the Kelce brothers are, and we love them for being themselves and doing that kind of stuff. Back to the Cavs and Knicks series. This series was over in Game 1. Cleveland, coming off a grueling 7-game series against the Pistons, only had 1 day of rest before the start of the series. The Knicks had 9 days of rest and started off a little rusty. The Cavs had a double-digit lead for most of the game and at one point had a 22-point lead in the fourth quarter. Then it went bad. The game went to OT and the Knicks won by 11. That game was it for Cleveland. Just like the 2018 finals with LeBron and the infamous JR incident of getting the rebound and not calling timeout or going up for the shot thinking they had won. The series was over after that Game 1 loss. The most interesting part of the Cavs flameout is what their offseason will look like. Their star player, Donovan Mitchell, is eligible for an extension, and the question is, will he sign it? If not, they will have to trade him or have him under contract for next season and then a player option. What you don't really want is to not sign him to the extension and then him force his way out and you lose him for very little because he's an expiring contract. Then you have James Harden, who's a notorious playoff choker, and he did nothing to quiet that crowd. He has a player option of $42 million, but only $13 million of that is guaranteed. It's been reported that he's going to decline the option and sign an extension with Cleveland for less money annually, but actually earn more total, like a 2-year, $45 to $60 million contract. The other option for Cleveland, which I highly doubt they do because they traded away someone and assets for James Harden, is they can waive and stretch his salary. That $13 million could be stretched out between a couple years, and that's going to clear up their books and salary. Or they can do a sign and trade with him for a player that better fits what they're looking for. The Cavs do have one of the most expensive rosters in the NBA, and everyone saw that they weren't able to compete in the Eastern Conference. And let alone, they didn't compete well in the Eastern Conference, let alone they're not going to be able to compete with whoever comes out of the West. Even the runner-up in the West, the Cavs would not beat. The Cavs are a far team away from going to the finals and actually winning it. Now, a fun path that I could see the Cavs doing would be somehow getting LeBron to join the team. And I would say the Cavs and the Lakers are the favorites for LeBron. Now, if they got LeBron, that would either make them the favorites or the second best odds of coming out of the East next year. And I do think if LeBron had been on the Cavs team this year, they'd be playing in the conference finals still. Don't know if they'd be making it to the finals, but they would at least still be playing. Something that's on the board, may not be all that likely, but it does have a chance of happening, is the Cavs trade for Giannis, giving up Mobley and probably a future first. I think they can trade their 2031 or 2033 pick, and then signing LeBron in free agency. That would make them instant favorites to come out of the East. With Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, you have LeBron, Giannis, still would have a center, Jared Allen. We'll see. I think it'd be fun. That would be like a fun NBA 2K team. And it came out today that a former Baker ownery from the Cleveland area, who had Charles Oakley, who is a retired NBA player, as a customer, reportedly heard from Oakley, who had met with Maverick Carter, that LeBron is 95% coming back to Cleveland. Now, it's a lot of through the grapevine, he said this, I heard that. So take this with a grain of salt. And if you want to place a bet on LeBron's next team and you somehow win that bet, I mean, I wouldn't mind if you kick me over a finder's fee. Just saying. All right, the Cavs have announced they're going to retain their current head coach, Kenny Atkinson. There was some speculation in the last 12 hours that they were going to fire him. They have not fired him and are doing the opposite and actually keeping him. Kenny came under a little fire. He was asked after Game 3, going into Game 4, what the series is like, where they could improve upon. And he's like, well, analytically, according to the numbers, we were expected to win 2 of the 3 games. So analytically speaking, we're actually leading the series 2-1, when in fact they were down 0-3. So that came under fire. It seems sort of like deflecting, not taking the blame for some missteps. In that Game 1 where they had the 22-point lead and they fumbled it away, he didn't call any timeouts to stop the run of the Knicks. Typically, that's what NBA coaches do. They call timeout, huddle their players, draw up some plays. The very least, you're trying to just get the opposing team to get out of their rhythm. He did not do that. So the Cavs are running it back with the same head coach. I think they're going to be aggressive with their pursuit of adding some talent around their roster. So we'll see how that looks. Now we're going to talk about the Knicks side of things. Last year, the Knicks lost in the Eastern Conference Finals and then fired their head coach. People thought that was crazy at the time, coming off a series away from the first NBA Finals appearance since 1999 and then firing their head coach. But admittedly, the coach had a track record of playing his starters high minutes during the regular season and them getting tired, hitting the wall in the playoffs, or getting injured. It happened the previous 2 years with the Knicks. Injuries and fatigue caught up, and Tibbs is best known for running his starters into the ground. A prime example is Derrick Rose back in 2012 in a playoff game. I will say blowout victory, but a victory. They were up by 12 with 1:22 left. So, I mean, they were going to win the game. The 3-point shooting back in 2012 isn't where it is now. So a 12-point game with just over a minute left to play was a lot. But he kept his star player, Derrick Rose, in. Derrick Rose then famously tore his ACL and then was never the same player. So you would think Tibbs would learn his lesson, but he did not. So the Knicks went into this year with the same roster as last season and a new coach, Mike Brown. Mike Brown has had previous head coaching experience and most recently led the Kings to the playoffs, ending their 17-year playoff drought. He was also named Coach of the Year with the Kings. Previously, he won that award in 2009 with the Cavs and was the coach of the Cavs in 2007 when they made their first ever finals appearance. Brown is a coach that changes the offense and schemes to fit the players instead of installing his own system. With the Kings, he had De'Aaron Fox, who was one of the quickest point guards in the game and utilized his slashing and speed to play with pace. With the Knicks this year, they went away from so many Jalen Brunson ISO or isolation plays and ran set plays to move the ball around. New York is on an 11-game win streak, and they entered the finals as the hottest team in the NBA right now. According to stats, they are also the hottest team in the NBA in an 11-game stretch ever. So that's also going in their favor. Now, this appearance, I know I already touched on this, but the Knicks' appearance in the finals is their first since 1999. So some people, they weren't around for the Knicks' last finals appearance. Or if they were very young. Fun fact, Timothée Chalamet and Kyler Jennings were at the game in Cleveland. And I think Chalamet's 30 years old. Don't quote me on that. But he probably doesn't remember the last time they were in the finals. I know I don't really remember a lot from 1999, and I'm 32. Am I 32? I'm 32. So this is going to lead to more Timothée Chalamet and Kyler Jenner sightings on sitting courtside. And then for the Western Conference Finals, we have the Spurs and the Thunder battling it out. Right now, the series is tied 2-2, with both teams winning in dominant fashion and dealing with injuries. The Spurs had De'Aaron Fox injured and missing games 1 and 2, which the Spurs split. And then Dylan Harper was injured in game 2, but was able to play games 3 and 4. The Thunder have had Jalen Williams injured, and now he's re-injured, in addition to AJ Mitchell, who's injured. Both are injured and out for game 5, which is going on right now. Again, I'm recording this on a Tuesday night. You guys will hear it on Wednesday. The Thunder are up by about 10. I think it's in the second quarter. It's a commercial right now. So if that holds, the Thunder will be leading the series 3-2. And the series will be returning to San Antonio. And maybe San Antonio will win on their floor and it forces a game 7. But being able to hoist the Larry O'Brien trophy is really determined by the better team. But injuries and attrition play a factor. We've seen injuries play a large role in past championships, not taking anything away from previous champions, but typically the healthier teams end up going further and winning it all. Think why the Knicks fired their coach after making the Eastern Conference Finals last year and burning out and injuries. With the Spurs and Thunder going at least 6 games, this allows the Knicks extra rest and recovery going into the finals that start next Wednesday, June 3rd. Getting that extra rest is a clear advantage. Again, injuries happen due to extended series, playing more minutes, all that. I said this when the 76ers forced a game 7 against Boston and won, and then they were swiftly swept by the same New York Knicks. Going and extending a series and winning it is great. You moved on to the next round. But typically playing those extra games, falling down and having to climb back out of a series catches up to you. Mentally, physically, you're not going to be 100% going into every series the longer you play. Game 6 of the OKC and Spurs would be set for Thursday, May 28th. So it could end there. But if the series goes to a game 7, which as a basketball fan, I'm honestly hoping it does because it's just good NBA. It's good entertainment. That would be Saturday, May 30th. And then with the finals starting Wednesday, June 3rd, you'd only have Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, 3 days of full rest for the winner of the West if it went to game 7. The Knicks on paper are not the better team than the Thunder or the Spurs. The Thunder have the back-to-back MVP, Shea or SGA, and the Spurs with their best player being a 7-foot do-it-all player in Wemby. But again, they could be the healthiest team. Talking of Shea, he won his second MVP this year, and it was presented to him before Game 1 of that series. And that is also the game Wemby absolutely dominated the Thunder. SGA may have held the title as best player in the NBA for the shortest time, as it's now Wemby's title. For those that don't follow the NBA, Victor Wembanyama is 7 feet 4 inches tall, averaging 25 points per game, 3 blocks, and 11.5 rebounds, while shooting 51% from the field and 35% from 3 in just 29 minutes per game. Basketball games are 48 minutes. So he has 18 minutes, really 19 minutes, that he's not playing, and he's averaging those numbers. In this series alone, he has just had 2 games with double-digit rebounds, game 1 with 24, while scoring 41 points in a double overtime win and playing 49 minutes. Now that was with double overtime. And the other game was game 2 with 17 rebounds, scoring only 21 points in 37 minutes, but a loss. He can just stand close to the basket, deter layups and easy paint points, and then on the other end can shoot the 3-ball with league average percentage, catch any lob, and has a nice jump shot since he can elevate and shoot over any player. In short, he's a cheat code, and that's why he has the nickname the Alien, since he's not human. Shea or SGA can reclaim the title as best player currently by winning this series, since the Thunder are shorthanded but still have a deep roster. He has to have the same impact for the Thunder as Wemby does for the Spurs. He can't put up the same numbers, especially in the rebounds and blocks, but he can do it by scoring and with assists. If Shea can do that, the Thunder have a good chance of repeating as champs for the first time since 2017-2018 season, when the Warriors did it when they had Steph, Clay, Draymond, and their 7-footer KD against LeBron, Kevin Love, and Kyrie. If you haven't picked up, I can bring a lot of NBA topics full circle back to LeBron. If the Spurs end up winning this series, and let's say the championship, there's already talk that Wemby's going to make the LeBron versus Jordan debate a moot point, since he'll be head and shoulders above anyone else. And yes, the pun was intended. This brings us to the end of the episode. I hope you enjoyed your time listening to me talk sports, share my opinions and thoughts. Don't forget to click subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other streaming services. Find me on Instagram and Twitter at the Solo Sideline, and I hope you tune in next week for the next episode.